whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space and Jeff Bezos. Go! Never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Boom! Come on, girlfriend. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Care and also co-sponsored by Dads Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Happy New Year, everybody. I think everyone who's watching this live, and definitely if you're watching on the replay, you're now going to be in 2022 now. So say happy holidays. Hope everyone is having a good, peaceful, and safe New Year. All that aside, well, what would you think would be the first live conversation I'd be doing in a new year? Well, nobody else except Aisha and Jill. That's why they're here. That's why we got them on first. What is going on, ladies?
It's going. Happy New Year, you guys.
Happy New Year.
Hi.
You always say it's going.
It's going.
Is that a term of yours, or you just?
I must be.
Whatever.
It's moving along. You know, as Mavis said, time waits for no one.
Mm-hmm. How has the holiday season been for both of you?
Lovely.
It's been great.
Yes.
Great, very restful.
Yeah, I loved it. I've had same thing for me, just restful. And, you know, we didn't really do anything last night. Yesterday, I didn't even get out of my pajamas all day. Went to celebrated New Year's. Literally, my husband and I were in our pajamas all day. So it was good, and had a nice bottle of champagne and, you know, a nice cheese plate and olives. And yeah, it was a real chill evening and very nice.
I missed everything except for the last 10 seconds when my daughter woke me up.
Oh, wow.
The ball's going to drop. There's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I was asleep by the end of one.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Well, that's a good way to start it.
Well, there you go. There you go. I want to shout out to everyone. Jen, Happy New Year, Jen, to you. And Wig Maniac.
Happy New Year.
New.
Maniac. Yeah, but she began following. She's always tweeting out on Twitter, and she was disappointed. Well, folks, we were supposed to do this a few nights ago, but Aisha was a little bit under the weather.
Yeah.
So he said, let's push it tonight, and people are here. So thank you so much for being here. I love it.
She wants me to get a wig and wear a wig. I ordered one. It just hasn't come yet. So, you know,
why?
She's a wig maniac.
Yeah, but you're so beautiful. You don't need a wig maniac. I don't know if I'm feeling that. Come on now. Why you want Jill in a wig? Come on now.
I'll try. My head is so big. That's the thing. They are always very skull capish on my head. I have a really big head. So we'll see. I'm down to try anything once at least.
Happy New Year to Tamara McCauley. Thank you so much for chiming in. And folks, now over the last, I think the last 2 Saturdays, past Saturdays, we did repeats. And now, so you know about this conversation. When we don't do stuff for a while, there's a lot of stuff we got to catch up on. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we got to catch up on. So get your favorite beverage, and also if you're on a couch, put up your feet, enjoy the ride, because we're going to be moving here to have Christopher Lawrence from the Ontario area great to see you here. Frequency Event Promotions. Good to see you here also. We got a lot to get through, so let's get at it. Unfortunately, we're going to start off with some unfortunate news. So first things off, yesterday we lost a Hollywood icon.
Yeah.
We did.
Betty White. Comments, lady, on the icon called Betty White, named Betty White.
We got to stop like making big expectations. Like she's getting ready to turn 100. I just seen the day before she died, everybody was talking she's going to turn 100. You know, let's not talk things up. Just be tranquilo about this stuff, because it's like too many people were in the mix, and Betty, you know, was just too sad. You know,
They spent the whole month actually just promoting
They
her
did.
100th birthday instead of appreciating that might have been the last month of her life, which it was.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I was telling Dr. Vibe backstage that was just so odd that the only day that there was not a Golden Girls marathon on TV at all was the day that she died. Because usually there's a Golden Girls marathon on somewhere, on some channel.
Right.
And yesterday there was none.
Any reflections on the career of Betty White from either one of you?
I just love Golden Girls.
Right. Me too.
So she always, you know, I always love to watch the reruns. I started watching Hot in Cleveland because she was on it.
What I think I'm beginning to put, there's certain groups of programs that I put that can't be duplicated, and I'm wondering, or can't be, or don't try to duplicate them. Is Golden Girls one of those shows?
I've envisioned a black version though.
Okay.
Of the Golden Girls. But it would be something different. Instead of them being friends, they'd be like a bunch of aunties.
And the reason why I'm saying, like, there's certain programs that I put in, like a vault, Sanford and Son,
yeah,
All in the Family, like the whole Norman Lear, a lot of the Norman Lear chain of shows, the Jeffersons, you know, those sort of programs. Some people would even put the Cosby Show in that vault, so to speak.
And they had the same, actually, with the Cosby Show, they had some of the same creators.
Oh, I wasn't aware.
Darcy, Carsey, and Warner.
Warner. Yes. That production company that you always saw their names at the end of the Warner Productions. You know, that would be a really good interview if any of them are still alive. That would be a very interesting.
I don't think they are.
They're not. And I think what's so interesting, I was looking at some of her CV, and I don't think we've really captured all of the shows that she really has been on. Like, I mean, okay, Hot in Cleveland, that was really great. I really like that show with her on it. And then there was, of course, Golden Girls. Then there Mary Tyler Moore. And then I remember growing up with her when she would come on her husband's show, Alan Ludden's Password, which I used to watch the game show a lot. Yeah. And, you know, she's been in countless movies. I mean, she really had an amazing life.
Like the very first talk show host ever.
And and a lot of people don't know, she had her own show. And her own production company of her own back. Maybe was she, I don't know if she was pre-Lucille Ball, but it might have not been pre-Lucille Ball, but she had her own show. And it was like a Dinah Shore type of show or whatever. And she had a Arthur Duncan, I believe, was on. He was a tap dancer, black dancer. And she got a lot of heat for it. The networks, and they canceled her show behind it. And but what happened is they first had come to her and said, "How dare you put him on the show?" And she put him back on the show. I think she brought him back on, and she told him to deal with it. And then they canceled her show. So she was quite the pioneer, and she was a huge animal advocate. I mean, you couldn't get more perfect human being. You know, she really was like a very special lady.
And she had such a sense of humor that just you know, if you've watched her tweets, she's funny. She's a funny lady.
And the commercials, the adverts on the Super Bowl that they had her in were hilarious. I always loved when they had Betty White in there. So it is a great loss.
Yeah, and a very witty person, quick
quick.
and witty. Quick.
Yeah.
Quick. She always had a quick comeback and very witty. Like she
Very
was
much
very in
so.
tune. And I think, listen, Jen is saying here, there was no one quite like her. Very tenacious.
Mhm.
You know, that's very true
She
because
was.
you know she was soft and endure, but she was a woman of steel inside. Like she was
She
very
was a goat.
yeah.
And a Capricorn. So she was a goat all around. One of the greatest of all time. She really, you know, really was something special. Pretty fierce
Absolutely.
that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Betty, you are in a better place, but just know that you added light to a lot of people's lives while you were
Yeah,
on
and I'm
this
glad
earth.
that she got her roses while she was alive, you know.
Yes.
So gave her appreciation and recognition the whole
True.
time that she was alive.
Absolutely. No doubt about
Absolutely.
it.
But
So
definitely in the last 20 years, she's gotten a lot of recognition.
Oh yeah, for sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt about that. So, and unfortunately, we're going to move to another individual who we've lost, another icon,
Yes.
Desmond Tutu. Wow. Talk about a
We're-
gentleman who, go ahead, Jim.
Well, we're at a really funny time with like such great leaders and notable people who've made some incredible contributions to a particular era of most of our lives.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of them are leaving, and that is that in itself is a bizarre thing to think, because you just kind of go, where are we headed? I mean, who are the new Desmond Tutus or the new Betty Whites? Who are they? Because I don't see many coming up. You know, I don't see that Desmond Tutu, what can you say? What is this? Remember when there was a book he did with the Dalai Lama?
Yeah.
I mean, he could talk to anybody of all walks of life. He was a very sensitive humanitarian to other people's causes, and super intelligent. And
Remember
you know
he
what I
got the
found
award
really
from Barack Obama?
he did, and I find it
Yes.
really amazing. He was not cremated. He was aquamated. I might be saying this wrong, but it has to do with a process now that's more eco-friendly, and it's not cremation. It's the use of some kind of water that they use to decompose the body, and his, even down to where I guess he detailed that he didn't want a coffin that
Wow.
would be embellished with like jewels. None of that. It's a very low-key pine box, basically. It's so a real testament to who he was as a person. I mean, these were his wishes.
Wow. I was reading an article, I think it was from the New York Times. I think it was an opinion piece. And they basically, the title, and I'm butchering the title a bit, but saying that Desmond Tutu broke apartheid by speaking the truth. He was a truth sayer.
Yes.
He was, he spoke the truth, and he never backed down from speaking the truth.
No, he never did. And he saw so many regime changes there. And, there's so many things that just happened, and he was consistently honest and truthful.
And the thing about it is that when we look at his life, we also get to see kind of like what it would have been like if Martin Luther King had lived into
interesting parallel.
True.
Interesting parallel. Very, very interesting parallel. Yeah.
What a loss.
Yeah, but and I remember growing up and hearing his passionate speeches from the heart. And I know I'm sure I saw one or two of them where he actually cried.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a very impassioned man.
He really was, and it's completely just very, very sad, his passing.
Yeah. Well, two great icons. Just going back to Betty White, Jen says, Capricorn like me.
Yes,
so what does that say
she's
about
got a
you,
birthday
Jen?
coming up.
Oh, so okay, Jen.
Jen just had a birthday.
Oh, she did. Oh, well, happy birthday. Oh, she's a December.
She's a Christmas
cat.
baby.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Desmond Tutu, and I echo what you're saying, Jill, that we right now don't have a lot of Desmond Tutus and Betty Whites.
Yeah. I mean, people have really gone like as far as they can away from the true meaning of faith, of any faith, you know. So when you lose someone like Desmond Tutu, you have a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing, but no real honest and honest and genuine people really, you know, speaking that passionately about issues. And I mean, climate change was one of those things that he was very
That's true.
About. And that's why he has this his climate friendly solution to the disposal of his body. Wow. Yeah, very, very thoughtful man.
Nice. So just getting back to Jen, because Jen ain't finished with her birthday.
The 24th.
It was December 24th. So happy belated birthday, Jen. Happy belated, and we always wish you nothing but the best, but especially since your birthday just passed. So happy birthday, Jen. Happy birthday, Jen. Good to hear. Well, let's get to other stuff that is going on in this world. And from the solemn to the oh my goodness. Ghislaine Maxwell found guilty in sex trafficking trial. Ladies.
It's what she deserves.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, for me with Ghislaine Maxwell, I think that I think it's fantastic that the jury found her guilty. I think it's, the trial they planned that it was going to last 3 weeks. It was really like 4 days, 2 days, 3 days. Mm-hmm. But I'm happy about that. But who was she trafficking to? So can we go after those guys who were the Johns? Like, you can't have that kind of an enterprise.
They only did charges related to Jeffrey Epstein, not to other men. So I'm sure there's going to be more.
Right. I think that's what's really important, because when you really wrap your head around how large this is for, just really wrap your head around how big this entity, their spider web, their clutches going into all areas of the elite status. Mm-hmm. They weren't, it wasn't a brothel downtown somewhere. It only catered and serviced the elite. So I'm curious who's going to be the hero or maverick to really rip that open. A lot of people are like, oh, she might flip and try to get less time, but I don't think she will, because dealing with the people that she's dealing with, she's just going to probably suck it up and just stay in jail. They'll appeal and appeal and appeal, but
yeah. I mean, I don't think that she'll get out of jail. I think that more than anything, she'll be just inclined to talk out of spite.
I don't think she will.
Yeah, open a few, but then again, they had Jeffrey Epstein.
What would be the point?
Right.
They know what happened to him that happened to her.
Exactly.
And that's exactly. I mean, it's also come out that she paid $25,000. Who were the kids who were harassing Josh? No, what are their names? In Brooklyn, they would go and sort of create all these online situations where they would be attacking different people and bring down the DA. No, it's another guy. He and his friend do it. They're like these 20-year-old kids, 25, but it's tracked to the fact that Jason somebody, anyway, I'll think of it later. She paid off that interim when she was arrested, $25,000 for them to go after the DA, who was at that point going to turn her and arrest her. So she also somehow, I think, got married in that interim of that year to some Silicon guy, where she was staying up in Pennsylvania, or where she was hiding out in New Hampshire. So there's a lot of things that are still a mystery. And, And then you've got the British Crown, which is involved in this thing too, because this conviction only opened up the door.
I wanted to get both of your takes on that. That part seems to have not shut down yet.
It can't, because clearly he shook. He shook, and he tried to come back against Virginia Joffrey, the one who's suing him, trying to say that his attorneys threw out a bone that they want the case to be tried in England, if anything, right? Ha ha, surprise, surprise. But the reason that they're freaking out is because he tried to throw and say that Virginia was not an American citizen, and she is. So because then they were going to battle back and forth. I mean, it's going to be a tussle, and that's why you had that stupid appearance with Dershowitz on the BBC and all of that.
I heard a little bit about. Can you give me a little bit more? I just read the headline. I'm not a big fan of his, to be totally honest.
He's horrible. He's psychobabble. This is a guy who has become the equivalent of everybody he's defended. He's as ratchet as they come. He is tainted. He is like, I don't know what they're keeping him alive with. Evil blood transfusions. You explain why he was on the BBC, because the BBC really effed up on that one, if you ask me. That was like, oh, we see you. Y'all putting him on here? Because they were slandering her, basically.
Yeah, right? I didn't get why he was on their platform.
To set it up. To set up to get the narrative already on top of the fact that she and her case, and they're looking into the settlement that was made via Epstein, had a settlement agreement with her or something. And I think they want to set her up like she's just going for a big money grab. You can give somebody all the money in the world, but they are not going to forget when you raped them or you basically had sex with an underage minor. And here's the thing. A lot of times I've seemed a little callous when I've talked about these girls and stuff, but you've got to remember Jeffrey Epstein and those guys, it even has tentacles into the modeling industry. I mean, girls who really would never have been models. I mean, they weren't even tall enough at that point. And then and little things like that, but it was so dark. It even ties into the John Casablancas and elite models. It ties into some of the biggest bookers, some of the biggest bookers in France.
Wow.
Some of the biggest bookers in France were involved in basically the act of trafficking these young girls. And Trump had a modeling agency. So it all keeps coming back to this dirt. And what's so shocking is, the amount of celebrities and rich people who were involved either knowingly or unknowingly, because sometimes celebrities are dumb. They just go to parties and go, oh, this is what's crazy. But if Jeffrey Epstein and those guys got their hooks into you, you got to also think anything that usually deals with prostitution usually begets a drug trade somewhere. And after that, it begets extortion. It begets a lot. When you have that, it's not like I'm just going to give them all a bunch of hookers and then that's it. And they picked up homeless girls who had drug problems. And that was what Ghislaine was going out and curating for all of this. So Dershowitz was on there to kind of slag her off and basically set it up just to get public doubt and have less sentiment, and also to be a precursor to the thing that Andrew's attorneys were going for, which was to get it thrown back like, well, she's not an American citizen. You're going to have to refile this over here in England. And that's not how it played out at all.
Yeah, they have to file it wherever it took place.
Exactly.
And I didn't.
That's not how crime works. You don't get to choose your location.
Well, it did. Remember, she was there at the Club Tramps when she was 17. And so he did have sex with her while she was there. He also had sex with her, but she was also on American soil.
Right,
so
and that's what they need to do.
And so she decided she was smart enough not to file it in the UK because justice totally would not have been served. I mean, I guess the Queen is just hanging on to make sure her son, her favorite son, by the way, which they say he is, isn't it always the troubled kid that's, But don't forget, in at one period, they used to call him Randy Andy. Randy, Andy, and laugh about it, and Kiki, and it was on the cover of every newspaper. Randy Andy was up to some really bizarre stuff. And, you know, always has been.
And I did, again, not reading a lot into this, I did read briefly a column saying, you know, did she do herself a disservice by not testifying?
No, she, if anything, she really like saved her life.
Yeah.
Because, you know, just anybody can get to her in a holding cell for the right price.
Right. And they still probably try it because, you know, mobsters and people like that don't take too kindly when you have something over them too. As much as she might have over them, this is going to be a very interesting thing to see how she sets it up. But her relationships with people, her father was involved in such criminal activity. This is a person who definitely has an access to both worlds, good and bad, dark and light. You know what I'm saying? She grew up with that. And, you know, apparently even in her own mother's memoirs, her own mother had said that she was the spoiled one out of all their 9 children. They had 9 children, by the way, the Maxwell family. And she was a daddy's girl. I mean, he named his yacht after not his wife, but his youngest daughter. So there's something that is kind of bizarre in their relationship too. And then the 2 brothers, Ian, and I don't know remember the other one's names. Remember when with Robert Maxwell being the publisher that he was, you see, he was got into the whole thing because it was said that he stole all of the pension fund money from his employees. But his 2 sons were actually accused at the same time, and they were, I think, acquitted or something. But they were working with their dad, so they got off, and he didn't. And then, of course, Robert Maxwell was found floating in the sea, off in Spain. I don't remember where, but when she flew there, because she was living in New York at the time and running like clubs. There is a report that they asked her, how do you think this happened? You know, he fell off of his boat naked. And it is on the record that she said, I think he was murdered. And it never went any further than that. But it's possible because remember, he had a relationship with one of the biggest, I guess, they say mobsters from Russia. That's on one of our top FBI most wanted list. So if you just kind of backtrack and look at all this is some deep stuff. She might, you know, it'd be better to just, I don't know if I were her, what I would do, but she's definitely was groomed herself. This is what I'm saying. It looks like the little girl was kind of groomed in the making image of her own father. It's very sad. Very sad.
And then she used what she learned there.
Because I actually, from the trial, started to think maybe Jeffrey Epstein was just the charm guy, you know, whatever. And maybe she was the mastermind behind it. Because it takes a certain type of woman to be able to call other women and young girls for this. It's like, for what? You're not that in love. Something was up. Something is psychologically off because you're not really trying. You're letting your man sleep with like a million. I don't know. There's just something you are cultivating women for these acts. And it was about power and control and clearly money. I don't think it had anything to do with, you know, love. It was a business arrangement.
Wigmaniac is saying those docs are going to be sealed forever. We'll never know the full truth.
Probably not.
Maybe after he's dead.
I just think it has the capacity to destroy entire nations. That the information that's in there.
Wow.
I think it's
surprised at how many members of Congress it might implicate.
And heads of state, like, you know, in other countries. I just don't think, you know, if they all have a powwow together, a Zoom, they're going to be talking about, now, is this good for the health of the community to see that we've all been making money off of allowing people to traffic little girls and boys and drugs. Because if everybody soon had to realize, holy shit, my whole foundation is based upon arms deals, sex trafficking, and drugs, then it blows the facade out the water, because it exists for a reason. All of those crimes, because there are people in places of position who look the other way. And it looks like that's been going on for a long ass time.
I can tell you one person who's scared of her. That's Matt Gaetz.
How so?
With his sex trafficking, I am sure that she knows some stuff. Even if she didn't directly have anything to do, she knows some stuff because that was her business.
Mm-hmm.
You know the business in different areas. You know it's
and they're all rich people.
Yeah.
Rich people all seem to know everybody's whose cousin's sister's brother's uncle. They all go to the same school. See, the problem is there's been a club that's been established in this country, in the Ivy League school system, in all of it. And it's now so incredibly not affordable that should let you know right there that the class system is what's running this show, this shit show, actually. And we are not allowed to be in it anymore. And you're only allowed to be in it if you can pay for it and you have access to something that they want. And in that aspect, they'll let you in the club. So if you get famous from selling a rap song, okay, maybe you'll get in for a little bit, but you're going to pay. It's like if you're popular, if they like you. But it's not even anything like where I'm like, oh, it's an Illuminati. I'm not talking about that. It's just class. It's a class system. It existed before the Renaissance, or, it is always human nature, clearly, for people to want to oversee people and monopolize them and dominate and get what they can from off the poor. That doesn't change. The sad fact is we're here again.
Do you think the royal family will get exposed, either one of you?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
They haven't thus far, and I'm sure that Andrew's not the only one who's got things to hide.
Right. I think we already know. I think the damage has been done. They don't have command the same amount of respect that they once did. The children have been a terrible disappointment. Particularly, they just have. You can go back to Charles and Diana. It really started to unravel, where people were already upset about the taxes that they weren't paying. And then it just slowly kept snowballing. And, they don't command the respect that they once did, because people basically see them as people who lived off of other people's money and stole lands. And, it's almost like if the founding fathers and all of them were still here, people would be dragging them to, let me tell you, they all would like to say, if the founding fathers were alive today, y'all be dragging them. Let me tell you, you would not be talking about how great Abe Lincoln was, or Hamilton, or none of them. You'd be saying, you know what you said back in 1777? You're canceled. Let's cancel Abe Lincoln. Yeah, that would be totally happening. Then people would be on TikTok. Goodness. He's canceled. Get up and dance.
So Wig Maniac says conspiracies will continue to spread because of this event.
True.
Yeah. Yep. And then the more accessible the public is through social media, through things like YouTube and all of that, there will be a platform for people to spread their conspiracy theories.
Why Ghislaine Maxwell case is so important in a really weird way is because it's actually the foundation of the little structured system that they had going on, the structure of corruption, because you're also dealing with the aspect of how it all just bleeds over. We've got Leonard Leo from the Federalist Society, who the Kochs founded. See, when they got that Tea Party those Koch brothers started rounding and unearthing earthworms and everything that they could find to really lay the tiles. They built like new walls, they built new bridges to groups that were isolated in their own, like working in silos. And what they did was they brought them all together and they formed this big ball of confusion. Because like when I mentioned like Leonard Leo, you have him who he's he's a Catholic. He's with the Knights of the whatever, that the ones that protect the Pope. And he was in Trump's ear for the appointments to the Supreme Court. He had got Kavanaugh, he got another one. And he's another a figure that we would never really know, but they're all working behind the scenes. So we know that Ghislaine she's taking the hit, but there's so many that nobody's seeing that are actually more concerning.
That's the scary part.
It is.
Wow. It's not good to hear. Very much not good to hear, but we will continue on. And just again, you're watching State of Things with Aisha and Jill on every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, most of the time live. But when you allow us to take a break, we do replays. So first conversation of the new year. Thanks everyone who's watching live on the replay, but especially if you're watching live, put in your comments. The ladies will give their takes on all your comments, and got a lot of people watching on YouTube right now. So thank you so much. So let's keep it coming and tell your friends about us. They need to know. All right. Next conversation piece. Harry Reid, former U.S. Senate Majority Leader, dies at 82.
Well, we knew it was coming. We knew his cancer was terminal for a while. It's sad because along with him is like, there goes an era in politics where Dems actually knew how to do things, and get things done. And we had a very strong leader in the Senate. And I think that once he left, trust me, he left for health reasons. He wouldn't have left any other reason.
True.
He left for health reasons, but he left. And it was like Democrats didn't know what to do. It's like they didn't know how to win anymore. Because I think the unfair part was in 2010 when the Tea Party came to power in the House and the Senate. Harry Reid, of course, was minority speaker then, and he was on his way out because he was sick. He started to get sick. But they didn't rebuild like Harry Reid did the candidates in different areas to get that win to where they had a 57 majority in the Senate. And it was kind of like that spirit was lost. And people said he wasn't dirty, but he knew how to get down and fight and get in the weeds and just play the same games that the Republican Party was playing. And it's like now Democrats don't have that fight anymore since he left.
Well, because the interesting thing is here when Aisha just said it's kind of like the end of an era, and she's absolutely right. And why was he that guy? First of all, he wasn't some rich person's child.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Harry Reid grew up in Nevada. His father was a miner, dirt poor, no indoor toilets. Right. They didn't have a school in the town that he grew up in. He basically had to board in Henderson, which is like 40 or 50 miles away from home, just to get basic school, to go to high school and stuff. So if anyone, when people talk to me about somebody being self-made that's a person who's self-made because the odds were against them. It was such a hard life. His father committed suicide.
Yeah.
His mother was a laundress. She did laundry for local brothels in Searchlight, Nevada, or wherever they were from. So you're really dealing with somebody why he knew how to get down and fight, and he knew how to sum people up quickly because because people who grow up under those circumstances develop different instincts than, you know, kids with silver spoons in their mouths. Different survival skills. And unfortunately, our Congress and the people who are working in the White House and all, they're all little rich kids somehow trickle down, and you don't have compassion. I will never be able to take a rich person looking at me and saying, pull up your bootstraps and we're going to muddle through. It's like, bitch, who are you? The fuck do you know about muddling through? And that's why it doesn't work anymore on people, because that gap of the elites, of the 1% and the rest of us here, what's happening is there's a polarity going on. And really, all poor people should just start uniting together, because the reality is they don't care about us. So you're having people giving you a directive who are not self-made. You know, even Joe Biden comes from a very modest upbringing. There are still the few old ones, but I have to say most of the new ones, other than the new young progressive women, they really are actually, you know,
because the political game got to be
pure poverty.
Yeah, but the political game got to be a moneymaker.
Totally.
And so when that happened, you saw people whoever had the most money could get in and win.
Exactly.
We've come a long way from the time when most of the people in Congress, their career was farmer.
Oh, right. They don't even know what a farm is.
They were farmers.
You know, probably could go on Farmville and think that's a video game.
They weren't wealthy. They were the wealthiest of farmers, and they were still poor. And that's this little irony about it. Because if you look now, we've gotten to a point where a lot of the people who were in Congress were lawyers.
I know. And even Harry Reid was a lawyer. But what was so brilliant about Harry Reid, he felt he needed to go and do things. And he had a lot of fight in him. And let's not forget, he took on the mafia in Nevada to the point where they had a bomb on his car, you know, and he stood in, and rather most people would have been like, oh my God, I'm not going to say anything. Harry Reid stood up to that. He went directly to them and was like, I am not that one. So how could you not respect anybody who was like that? I may have not agreed with absolutely everything he did, but there were times I would go, well, Harry Reid knows how they really are behind closed doors. So I will have to trust his methods at this point for, you know, showing them out, you know, and he is the reason that how many people got Obamacare and healthcare here? Yeah. He is the reason that Barack Obama got his stuff through.
And remember, he was the first politician to endorse Obama.
Absolutely. He was the one.
He saw that. So, you know, the other part of it is that
because self-made recognizes self-made. You see, they all you recognize it.
And you also can't overlook the wins that he helped to orchestrate in the Senate in 2006 and in 2008. He was a huge figure behind that. And I think at that time we had a leader of the DNC who had Harry Reid had his ear. And we don't have that anymore. We don't have a speaker either in the House or the Senate now, or even the president who's like, Jamie, get it together.
Exactly.
Because
it's not that it's weird.
It's like we have a whole 11 months before voting takes place, and basically the Democrats gave up in August.
Right. Exactly.
And just said, oh, so we know it's gonna flip, and you don't know a thing unless you get out there and do.
And Chuck Schumer and this step and fetch it routine he's got going on, it ain't working for me because he's too accommodating. He is too accommodating, and Harry Reid wasn't, to a point. But then if you were just like dicking him around, he caught on real quick to that. And I loved how he was able to play it where people could play themselves. And then you'd see how the story unfolded and went, oh, okay, that's what's going on. But see,
and the other
we got a big problem.
Schumer doesn't have. Harry Reid had equity in the Senate. So he had a lot of favors owed to him on both sides. Okay. That's something that Chuck Schumer has not learned to do, is to find equity, is to find, eventually they're going to need something, and they're going to need you for something. You need to hone in on that, and just, he hasn't learned how to do that.
No,
and
he's not that kind of man.
Nancy Pelosi knows how to do it. It's how she whips her caucus in line when she needs to, even if there are a few outliers. But for the most part, she does know that if I go to somebody with something, think about that time that at first AOC said something about Nancy, and then the next day flipped it and said, "Oh yeah, I am voting for Nancy. I support her. She's this strong." Right, because Nancy had equity in that relationship.
Right.
And so, Harry Reid had that. Chuck Schumer, he's like an old, worn-out shoe.
You keep on referring to him as that worn-out shoe.
It's hard. It was
time to get rid of him.
I was really rooting for him, but it's true. It's just getting to be.
I'm at the point where I'm like, get what's her name from Minnesota?
Yes, Klobuchar.
Yeah. Amy Klobuchar.
She's a badass. I think she's a badass. Yes.
Put her in.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's continue down the political highway. U.S. and Russia hold talks amid Ukraine tensions. This seems to be bubbling. And
well, this was gonna happen. This is a it's a byproduct of a lot of things, but right now, Putin is not used. He got used to those 4 or 5 years where he could, get everything that he wanted from the United States and control the players. And he's learning that he can't control anymore, that the people that he had are not there anymore. Because, think about how elections run in Russia. Well, same people stay. He's always going to be there.
Right.
But the United States changes, the president gets to throw out all the old people that he wants, that he can, by the constitutional law. But I think that he thought he might have been able to get over on Biden because Trump was in his ear, talking that, oh, Biden's weak, Biden's sleepy Joe, and you don't want him because he's not gonna, whatever. But I think that Putin at this point is just trying to flex his muscles, and is kind of shocked that the U.S. now has some allies in this, where for a while our allies were not touching us.
Yeah.
And so that's something that, it has changed. And so, it's going to keep going. And like Biden told him, if we have to go there, we have to go there. Good thing he pulled us out of Afghanistan first.
Jill, anything you have to say about Ukraine tensions?
Well, that too, in effect, is all connected somehow with the mob. It's all somehow connected. I think the FBI guy that I mentioned on our most wanted, he's Ukrainian. There's so much that it's all like, I think let's just create as much destruction as we can. We have a couple of layers of things happening at the same time.
Right.
And, of course, and then in the middle of it all, you still have the whole geopolitical, how everything is set up with, China and Russia. Russia's trying to meet with Iran because they want to create this force to destroy the Western democracy. Now we have this other added new thing with NATO still going on. And those are big hiccups, because the only reason that Russia decided to foster those relationships with Russia I mean, with China was because they're trying to be included on the main stage of everything. They, you're talking about California and New York. If you just want to be straight up, have greater GDP output than Russia together. And, so there's a big problem. I mean, guess you could ratio that in many different ways to get a better number. But the reality is, this is yet again another, a lot of heavy words get thrown around, and then the whole nuclear stuff goes back and forth in that conversation. And then the Madison Cawthorns doing the speaking, because they're just puppets that I think they're being told what to say. We know that he's an operative. It's very clear. He had a honeypot situation set up. They even selected the woman that he was going to marry. I mean, let's be honest. He was working with a disadvantage when he went to participate in a cross-country race that never was existent. And he can't run because he's in a wheelchair. And it wasn't even for the Special Olympics or anything. So, either he's incredibly stupid, or he thinks we're incredibly stupid, or maybe all of the above. It's really astounding, all the pieces on the chessboard, how they start to move. And then you got Ukraine, and everybody's going, oh my God, we're going to, this is crazy. But, the other day, I'll be honest, I was sitting there going, wow, maybe the worst thing that Reagan ever did was forge that relationship with Russia. I was really did we need all this? I mean, maybe they should have just stayed in the Cold War, because it's still a Cold War. I mean, why did we go all the way back to end up, why did we go through all of that to end up back at zero again? Nobody knew these people were our adversaries. And then, but only this time, now they have the minds of our citizens. I mean, everybody's talking about.
One thing we have to make crazy. One thing we have to make very plain. I want our viewers to know this, is that the way Russian people think about Americans is tied to their economy, first of all, because that relationship with Reagan was supposed to be economically beneficial to Russia. Russia's economy right now is on the verge of collapse.
Right.
And Putin wants to build all of these pipelines. Okay. That is the main goal, because the pipelines will bring in money to Russia. However, some of those pipelines he wants to build, a lot of them go through Ukraine.
Yes.
Now, the reason the rest of the world does not want him to do this is because of the environment.
Right.
Because it will destroy, it will obliterate the environment if they have these pipelines.
He's very Louis the 14th, après moi le déluge, after me the flood. I don't give a shit.
So if you have
we can't think that way.
Understand the current issue is about their economy, and it's about building those pipelines to fix their economy, and that they are being basically prevented from doing so. And remember, they want these pipelines to go not just through Ukraine, but to reach all the way into the Middle East.
Right.
And having all of that fuel, fossil fuel at that, travel through these pipes underground that would go through 3 continents? So it
follow the money.
Right. So it becomes a worldly issue. Now, the United States, we actually don't really have a dog in that fight because it's not crossing through our land.
Right.
But we have a president who put his dog paw in it and drug the rest of us with him.
Right.
In this mess. Ukraine is what got him fired. I mean, well, not fired, but impeached the first time.
That other president, not Biden. You have to say Trump.
I'm sorry,
was
Trump.
The one was
Trump
the
was
reason
the one who was impeached because of what happened with Ukraine.
But it was a deliberate move. He was helping him to unravel the power structure in Ukraine. That's all it was about.
Because he was
doing Vladimir Putin. Yes, he was helping him.
He was setting himself up for what comes after the presidency.
Right.
So he could get some money because remember, he wanted to build, it all goes back to him wanting to build that Trump Tower
in Moscow,
in Russia.
and
this
he already
was
had
the
it
price
signed
he was
up.
going to have to pay, was to give the United States to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what would happen had he done that? Russia could also have a pipeline going through the U.S., through the continental U.S. up to Alaska.
Yeah, through Alaska. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would reroute right back into Russia. So he would have a pipeline that went across the entire globe.
Well, just want to catch up on here, and the ladies are dropping knowledge bombs as usual. And more people as we're doing this live are coming in and watching live. So we're very happy about that. Thank you so much. A question here, going back to Harry Reid. Do you think Harry Reid was more or less responsive to requests from their big donors than today's leaders? I don't know if that question makes sense.
Well, here's the thing. You got to remember, Harry Reid came through at a time before super PACs.
Right.
So, and the political action committees were really just they had a cap. It was when he became minority Democratic speaker in the Senate that the Republican Party pushed through the super PAC. And the super PAC was even more secretive than the regular PAC with the information, so you could hide who the donors were, where the money was coming from, and they had no cap.
Got it.
And so Harry Reid was before that time.
Okay. Oh, look, we've got a fourth member of our show tonight.
Oh, yes, there she is. I know.
Your cat,
Ashley.
There, hi, Ashley. So we also have another question from Black Beauty. Good point. Everyone's touching on how most of our political seats are filled by the elites. Is it any wonder most of the elites want to demolish our democracy?
Of course not, because in a true democracy, they would at some point not be reelected. This is why we need term limits in the House and the Senate, because those people will continue to do what they need to do and make the connections they need to make, the shoddy connections, to stay in power. We see this with people like Mitch McConnell, like Susan Collins. We see this.
Yeah.
We see this with gatekeepers on the Democratic side, like Joe Manchin.
Right. And who did Harry Reid write the letter to? Was it Bill Barr? And he wasn't senator anymore. Yeah, he wrote a pretty what
do your job.
Do your job.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because remember, Harry Reid knows Bill Barr from when Bill Barr worked for Reagan.
Yeah, I think he said he used to respect him, but he's come to realize that he doesn't know who the hell he is anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Also dropping by to say hello, Dr. Tachi.
Hi,
hey, Dr. Tachi.
Hey, Dr. Tachi.
Dr. Tachi, we always have a seat for you whenever you're ready to come on. State of Things, Aisha and Jill. Dr. Tachi hosts the livest program about media, tech, and pop culture every Wednesday called Mediascope on Instagram Live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Then on a number of platforms, I'm going to say, I know I'm going to probably forget one or two, but Facebook Live, YouTube. I know it's also on a gospel station in the Caribbean. So she's all, and I think, I don't even know how many. I'm just going to leave it at that because I'll forget. So I'll just leave it at that. But great as always to have Dr. Tachi here in regards to the state of things with Aisha and Jill. Well, one of the fights we're going to see in the new year before the midterms is there going to be a fight between 45 and Letitia James.
No, because he's going to lose. He's going to get left again. Yeah. You can't block it because well, one, he can't block the probe into his company. He cannot, because she's getting, there are so many levels that as Attorney General she can get him on. One is on his state taxes. Mm-hmm. You cannot keep those things private. What boggles my mind is that this man did not worry about things like emails and phone calls and text messages getting to go public. He worries more about the paper trail to the IRS. When those other things could really destroy him just as easily.
It's true. He's going to try. He's trying to sue her. It's just these are just stalling. He tries to stall.
He's hoping
that's his whole history. That's his history.
Basically, what the man is hoping to do is to die before these things ever get to.
He's another Louis the 14th.
Yeah.
You know,
he's going to keep his goal is to keep everything in court, but eventually he's going to run out. He is going to run out. And guess what? He will be alive. He will be alive when they run out.
I mean, it's really interesting.
Go ahead, Jill.
Well, I think that what he's trying to do is run out the clock. We all know that, but that there is no clock on this. She's taking him in, and they're going to do their deposition. He'll probably not answer, or he won't show up. The biggest question for me is, what are we going to do with that again? What is going to happen? The difference, though, with this is I think she has maybe already worked out those options.
Yeah, I think she has the goods because she decided to run again. She decided to stay put. So she's got some things boiling on the pot that are going to make her contestable for governor. And it's going to be him. I think that she's crossing her T's, dotting her I's, and making sure that he can't weasel out of it. I think that she's really going through making sure all the holes are sealed, and looking at every possible challenge they can come.
Also, so a few things I want to go back on. And this is going back to Ghislaine Maxwell. Did you hear 45's son trying to criticize, going in on the royal family, saying, "Oh, the royal family needs to be implicated"? And I'm going, hold on a second.
Don't talk.
What about your dad and his behavior?
Don't talk.
See, he hasn't learned that his best friend is being quiet.
Right.
His best friend should be quiet because everything, put it this way, they go to jail, it's going because of something he said.
It's true.
He needs to leave the cocaine and the alcohol alone.
It's true. Something.
Yeah, I think that, and I agree with both you ladies from where I sit, that I think 45, his history is to
and that sausage roll of a girlfriend. Stuffed in those dresses. It looks like she's wearing a casing.
And still doesn't know that her parents were already American citizens.
I'm sorry. There comes a point when
she still doesn't know that her parents were American citizens. She keeps talking about when her parents immigrated from Puerto Rico.
Her dad was Irish and her mother was Puerto Rican. But her mother died when she was young. So I have a sad feeling she probably didn't even grow up with doesn't even know anybody who's in Puerto Rico from her family.
Oh no, I'm sure
and they kind of reads like that. She ain't,
It also reads that she hasn't spent a lot of time around women,
people of color.
Definitely not people of color, but women. And the reason I say that is because she doesn't have anyone on her side that is telling her, "Girl, these band-aid dresses,
it's true,
and these 6-inch heels." It's not working. It's not working.
No, it's really strange.
It's like you look like a punch can of biscuits. You twist the biscuits and they pop out.
Yeah, I'm always nervous. I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen?
What's gonna fall out?
I don't know. Those are just our fashion critiques, okay?
Yes.
I'm not trying to shame her or anything.
No,
I'm just saying,
I just think that
I don't know what
don't you get tired of wearing tight stuff all the time?
Exactly. It's like show up, and then her man. And how come all rich people's teeth look the same? Can I ask that? They all get those big old fever bed. They're just what is there one dentist in the world?
Invest. Huh? This is one thing they don't invest in. They'll invest in stocks, but leave their teeth to rot.
No, they have all this cap. All their dentures look the same. It is the strangest thing to me. It's like if they bite into things. I don't know what kind of imprint. I think they all have the
Motown
same
did that for a
thing.
while, where all their artists, their 60s artists,
Yeah,
had
it's
the
still going
same,
on here. I've
the
seen
same
so
teeth.
many people. When then that family comes on, and I think they were trying to get rid of the fact that they have very small chins that go in like that. So they put a bunch of teeth here.
How did we
But
get
it's
into
strange.
this?
Sorry, it was just
No,
something
it's
I was
okay.
looking at the other day. I mean, everybody's teeth are just so thick, and they're not.
Yeah,
If they bit us, I don't even think it would break our skin.
speaking of dogs,
Jeez.
Letitia James has bitten Trump's behind
Thank you.
with claws, and she's not letting go.
No,
She's
Well, and
not
also,
letting go.
and there's another investigation. I think it was started by Cyrus Vance Jr. He's now left, but there's another gentleman. But apparently, this other gentleman is just as tough as nails as Cyrus Vance Jr.
And it might be worse. And so this is actually quite good that it's someone that Trump and them don't know anything about they don't know how he's going to be dealing with them. Also, you've got to see Merrick Garland just appointed a DA for Matt Gaetz' territory the other day. So they're probably going to keep. No, it's happening.
Wow.
There are things happening.
Well, by the way, we're in the comments. Your friend Merrick Garland's name has come up, but we'll get to it before we end tonight. But
we're talking about him tonight. Okay.
Well, someone's asked a question about your boy, Merrick Garland. Your boy,
my boy,
your boy.
So I think that she's going to have something. I would not be surprised if we heard some kind of news occurring around the 5th or the 7th, someplace close to the 6th.
Okay.
Yeah, the number 7 is in my head. I don't know.
Okay.
That is.
Right.
Because January 6th, they're trying to figure out how to memorialize.
Also,
whatever that was.
In February, Chinese New Year. And the reason, I know a lot of people don't believe in Chinese astrology or anything, but the Chinese do their predictions on certain things. They, whatever. And so do many people. It's going to be Year of the Tiger, water tiger, which anytime it's water, it's going to be an emotional year for sure. Something emotional. But the tiger is quite a formidable opponent. This year could be really great for many people, but there's stuff that is moving forward. I'm telling you, because it can't not be. I do recommend people just check into the DOJ website once a week just to see who they arrested, because there are many arrests going on. And I mean, you really would need a notebook to keep up with. They are doing things.
And just because you don't know the name of the person,
right?
Know that the person has something to tell.
Yeah.
All right. Well, some comments to catch on. Black Beauty is saying, actually, Europe equally desperate for those pipelines running from Russia to be turned on due to Europe's gas shortage.
But the solution to Europe's gas shortage is to become a more sustainable country, rather than relying on gas. Because here's the thing: the United States will be coming out of gas. And so Europe is one of those hard-fought continents right now, where the climate issue, people are really debating on the climate issue. And a lot of countries have made some moves in terms of finding ways to be fossil fuel free.
Absolutely.
By 2030 and 2050.
Yep. And here's the other thing, in Germany, they use so much solar. It's really crazy. I mean, it's very common to see it on houses, apartment buildings, and they sell it back to the grid. That's how it's a lot more common than here than people think. Same in France. But what's going on is that I often wonder it's an energy crisis in Europe, but they, as Aisha said, they've been backing away from. They've been making bigger moves than we've had. We're still at the area where we're trying to tell people not to buy paper towels, damn it, and not to carry plastic bags. They've already been there. I mean, they were dealing with the plastic bag situation in the 80s. Okay,
and their unions are really weird.
What they're now
moving toward power.
what they seem to be very focused on right now is to meet the needs that's currently happening with climate change. This is not like the conversation here that our media keeps going, well, when it happens and when, no, we are actively, it's happening, present tense. We went past that point of, oh, when it happens, we're here. So they are dealing with the aspects of migration that's happening in many, many countries, particularly because if you look at what's happening with land masses, droughts, all certain disasters that are going on, this is creating a deluge of activity, of people migrating. We at the same time, we have corporations totally pillaging some of these places to get what they can get out of it now and think about everybody later. And that's what's really interesting is that they're focusing really heavily right now on agriculture and how important agriculture is to all of us. And I was watching something in France the other night, and one of the leadership divisions had a symposium, and they were speaking about redoing the whole global by global. They're focusing more on getting people to be more local, shopping more local, staying more centric, because that is going to be an actual situation. And if they are going to be shipping in the silk trade, the pipelines that are, the new thing that was just created with the transatlantic thing with China and whatever, they're all trying to find better ways of shipping. So in a really weird way, this supply chain cacophony or whatever it was that happened, that cock up, actually worked to everybody their advantage and really structuring like, okay, what are our needs? Everything is being reshaped and restructured, and it has to, because people didn't know that there was that many ships going across the United States and Europe and all over the world. Think about it.
Yeah.
Those things, no wonder the oceans are polluted. Let me for real. Just imagine. Everybody now wants to get in a hurry because they didn't get their TV set. But the reality is this has been happening. And here it is parked in front of you. And what happens? Everybody's mad because they can't get something that's on their eyeshadow or that little crappy thing that's made in China. And also another thing that's coming on the table for Joe Biden after it goes through the Senate, the Uyghur Act, because that is going to push through where we will be denying corporations who are doing businesses in China are going to have to identify their labor usage and their labor locations and logistics. Now it's China, so they may not be all, here you go, here's your little certificate, but it is a step in the right direction, because we do know that most of 85% of what you're buying from China is being made by the Uyghur people, who are essentially slaves and being held against their will in a country and tortured and killed.
And also too,
so when you go and buy that stuff that you need so desperately, you really need to think about it, because you're contributing to some horrific things to people.
I think our audience should also be aware that last month there was a global conference called COP26, and all of the continents got together. Europe was the most heavily represented. They were also the most ahead when it came to what they're doing to make climate changes and to start using more solar power, wind power, finding other electric cars, like using bikes more, and all of these things to
they have roads that are charging the electric cars.
Exactly. And then they push for legislation in different countries of building those kinds of things, like the battery powered charging stations that are like on regular city streets.
Because she's right. The whole thing with the battery stations, we just got something where they're putting 500,000 throughout the US. But the problem is
by 2040 we will have no cars.
But the biggest problem still is electric cars are not the solution either, until they can create a battery. But then old stupid knucklehead Elon Musk always throws breadcrumbs out there and made everybody think that his Tesla could be like the next best thing because he's got the battery that's going to be lasting, whatever.
Well, here's
I will
the
tell
thing,
you
though,
something
with
about
that.
the Tesla. Driving it from here, from let's say you're in Los Angeles to San Francisco. Do you know that, first of all, there aren't really any places to stop and charge your car, but it's a real drag. Okay, it's a drag. It doesn't give you that much. And 476,000 of his cars the other day were recalled.
That is,
So
I
it's
heard
the new Pinto,
But
right?
here's
As
the
they
thing.
say,
Elon
Tesla's the
Musk
new
is in
Pinto
there
of
just
our
to make his little
generation.
bit of coins for just a little while, because by
He's a
2040,
hustler.
right, by 2040, all cars in the United States, all brand new cars will be electric or solar powered or something, but they will not be using gas.
No, but at the convention in like Dubai, they're already talking about hydrogen and dealing with hydrogen opportunities. So they've
Elon
been
Musk is trying
doing
to make
this
his
stuff.
little coins right now.
Yeah,
We
he's
gotta
making his
move it.
coins.
We're gonna move it forward, ladies, because I told you, I said to the
tons of
ladies ahead of
questions.
time it was gonna be a long conversation, and when things go in their different directions, absolutely. So
Okay,
let's keep up. Green-eyed little baby saying, "I love Letitia James."
I do too,
which is good. There is a question about Jill's boy, but we're gonna leave it.
Merrick. Dr. Vibe.
I think Dr. Vibe
Dr.
froze.
Vibe, are you frozen?
Wow, this conversation got too hot. So, does anyone believe Trump and the congresspersons, etc., who played a part in January 6th attempt to overthrow democracy will be actually persecuted? Given time. Do you believe that the people who participated in the Congress people who participated in the insurrection, that they'll actually be prosecuted by Merrick Garland?
I wonder if it'll ever come out first. Period.
For real.
I think the committee's getting closer and closer to it. But the question always is, will Congress decide that they're going to handle it, or will they let Merrick Garland do it? And will Merrick Garland actually do something?
Right. I think
that's
that
the question.
There has to be a couple of things going on simultaneously, like within the state powers, that they have to also be exercising certain activities to prosecute. Because if there are Congress people involved in this, which we know there are probably, I think the states also can do something. Couldn't they prosecute them just for a dereliction of their own duty to the states that they come from?
That's the challenge, is the states they come from. So, for example, if you've got people from Florida, they're not going to do anything.
Right.
They're going to make sure that their attorney general does nothing.
Exactly.
That governor, if he stays governor.
Right.
And so you've got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, the bobblehead girl, Boebert.
And Naomi. Yeah, it's true. Lauren Bobblehead.
So and the states that they come from, their legislatures there are the ones who pick, and their governors are the ones who pick the judiciary. So again, it's going to be left to that. That's why the federal charges are going to be necessary.
Right.
Oh, I couldn't hide Merrick till the end. I saw Jill saw her boy. So it's all good.
Like I said, I really suggest people go and look at the DOJ website, watch, and just start to see who's getting done and taken down. And there's a reason for a lot of it. And I think that they are working. I think that some people have said, well, why have they kept some of the appointments that Trump had in there before? I think it's sometimes better to keep your enemies closer sometimes, because those people are finding out what they were covering, because after a period of time, they're still sitting there because they're still trying to protect something and hide something. And I think it all comes out in the wash eventually. I've had my ups and downs with Merrick Garland, though. He better do something.
And
throw us a bone, Merrick, please.
Yeah. And remember, too, there's also a reason There's also a reason a lot of those people still work there is because, remember, they're civilians, not political operatives or political appointees. And so they are subject to our federal laws of protection for employment. Like your political affiliation is not supposed to interfere in your employment.
But we saw that with that Santa Claus, Mrs. Santa Claus looking woman who wouldn't let Biden get in after his appointment. Remember, she was the administration person and she wouldn't sign off on giving him the information before.
Oh, yeah.
She looked like, I hope they sent her back to the North Pole.
Remember, she was also a Trump hire. And
she totally was. Yeah, she's
no longer there.
Thank God.
They got rid of all the people that they could get rid of that were Trump appointees, except for the 148 or 58 some odd people that they're still waiting for confirmation. So Chuck Schumer, get on
it. Okay. All right. Well, let's move forward here. And we just had a comment come in. Let's see if anyone okay. There's a few comments here. Wiggy Maniac, Bobblehead, Bo Bear. And then Black Beauty, we haven't even passed voting rights. We've not even passed a law to prohibit the next 45 from potentially succeeding at an overthrow.
What would that law be to prohibit the next Trump from doing an overthrow? Because they haven't come up with the law. They haven't even presented a bill on that. And it feels kind of like they're waiting to see what the January 6th committee comes out with so that they can cover all of them at one time in one bill rather than piecemeal it, because they'd have to come up with something for regular citizens. They'd have to come up with something for a president.
True.
They'd have to come up with something for members of Congress. And rather than doing it individually, it makes better sense to do it all in one package, one bill, because they're only going to get one chance to get that voted on, because Republicans are going to do all that they need to do to keep that vote from happening. And I have a feeling that they're going to, the January 6th committee, starting this week, once they go back to work, is going to be moving at a much faster pace because they do recognize that there's a clock.
Well,
because the Democrats have pretty much given up.
I mean, what's that PDF that Gugliani has? It's the PDF that came out. He is a real Gugliani. He doesn't deserve a legit Italian-sounding name. He's a Gugliani. It is too bad,
The hooligan.
It's like, so there was this. Isn't it the Strategic Communications Plan, Gugliani Presidential Legal Defense Team? We have 10 days to execute this plan and certify President Trump. I mean, it's a 300-page PDF that's circulating online that basically outlines their whole from December 27th to January 6th. So, what the heck? I mean, it's typed. I mean, it's like, first of all, the poor person who had to do this and transcribe. I mean, what the heck is that about? There's some dirty folks. You couldn't, and also kind of stupid, just so stupid. I mean, they have a plan. Yeah. This is like, people should study this thing. It's 300 pages. Nobody can pull off the coup properly. Half of their people who follow him don't know how to read.
So Black Beauty is
north, south, east, left, right. What?
It's called her 5314. It was passed by Congress. It's stuck in the Senate. Then also the law is called Protecting Our Democracy. Wig Maniac is called. It was a PowerPoint presentation as how to overthrow the election. That's
the PowerPoint present. Oh, so now, I mean, this has no pictures that I have. This has links to things, this PDF. And friend just sent it to me, so I will.
You said it was HR what?
Is it
54?
Put it back up on the screen here.
5314.
5314. I'm just, there's Black Beauty again. Bill HR 5314. It is the name of the bill that Congress put together.
Wow.
So just moving ahead while Aisha takes a look at it, we are going to go to, well, and most of the people who are watching this live and probably on the replay live in the United States. We want to hear about what's going on with the high inflation. That's
It
harkening me
didn't
back.
prevent people from shopping for Christmas. I mean, we had one of the most successful retail years ever.
Well, you got to remember
I
the
don't get it.
inflation is not,
I mean,
the inflation isn't such that it's affecting what is it? It's the inflation is being
inflated by the
inflated.
alt-right.
Yeah, inflated.
Because
but
it doesn't
largely
exist.
it's largely being inflated artificially.
It is.
Okay.
Because if we had, first of all, if we had COVID under control, we would not be seeing an inflation. We're seeing
Yeah, but how
inflation
can-
because workers are not going to work because they're sick or they're
No,
testing
I-
positive.
I- if
And same
we
thing
had-
with delivery people. But also too, there's the issue with China and us starting to pull back on what we get from China. And so we do have American-made corporations who are taking advantage of this. Problem is,
Yeah,
we're
I
not
was about
passing
to
that
say
on
they
to
are
the workers.
doing it for, we have now, since it's come to light that they wanted to make the vaccine and COVID problem worse, so it looked worse on Biden's presidency. What would make them not want to do the same with the retail and inflation and food? I mean, they're all in their pockets, right? Too. I mean, we have to really look at many corporations can't be trusted anymore, which is why I right now hardly shop at any of the corporations. I'm going to the smaller mom and pops because I'm tired of this mess. I mean, they're bartering over my head. They're like extorting all of us and using us all to get what they want out of it. And they can go to hell. I'll be okay going to a farmer's market and getting my food. I don't have a problem with that. And this gas thing that they talked about, you got to remember that Trump lowered it so artificially at the end of the year before he got in, that he knew that the feds would have to come in and raise it back up to the regular price. Nothing changed. My gas is always $4.59 or $4.98. Or maybe it isn't. And it's a gallon. Okay. Come on. It's not like we're paying for, a liter. I mean,
That's what we have up here.
I know you guys are the rest of the world. Hello, dummy Americans. The rest of the world buys their gas in liters because we're too stupid to learn the metric system.
Yeah, because we're over $4 a liter.
No, absolutely. And it's just like, the little spoiled Americans decided we should only be paying $1, $2. Wake up.
That hasn't happened since 1999.
It's the same reason when people go shopping and they see $2.99. Oh, it's only $2.99. It's psychology.
Yeah.
And everywhere else, it's the same. It's a nightmare. There is the inflation that they're talking about. It's fabricated and it's being artificial. Because seriously, okay, there are some things that are high, but they would have been high anyway. It's freaking Christmas time. They always raise the prices on your meat.
Wouldn't change in 20 years. It's absolutely
ridiculous. Because when it went down, when nobody was driving, it was $1.25 here. There was nobody on the street. I could breathe fresh air. The hills were green, but the minute everybody came back out of their holes, everything became gray and cloudy. And, that's how it works. The demand for it became a little bit more.
I'm reading this act, but the things that they have in it, Black Beauty, that's the juggernaut, is that the things that they have in it are things that already exist, or they're just statements of restating something. So, for example, they've got the things like enforcement of the foreign and domestic emoluments clauses. We already have emoluments clauses. This is just the enforcement of them, which we already should be doing. Period. Because
it's too bad we have to tell people
there is an enforcement law, and this when you read what they actually mean, and they have all the things that we already have, which were definitions, prohibition and acceptance, jurisdiction of the office of the special counsel, all those things, like the jurisdiction of the office of the special counsel, it's a statement that they are to do what they are supposed to do by definition of the law that already created. So it's double talk when you look at these, when you look at this bill, for example, enforcement of congressional subpoenas. There is already a law about how congressional subpoenas are enforced. You enforce them by holding people either in criminal contempt or contempt of Congress. I mean, it's just they're just restating things like security from political interference in justice.
Right.
This is supposed to just what it includes our communication logs and the rule of construction, which there is supposed to be the there should be already a security from political interference in justice. These are things that we already have, and they just put a bunch of them to restate them and re-identify and redefine them into a bill. So it's really misleading to say that they actually did pass a bill when I mean this bill is 276 pages. I'm on page 24 down here, and I'm looking at prohibiting campaigns from paying spouse of candidate.
Right.
That's already in there because the spouse is typically part of the campaign. That's part of campaign.
But is this an addendum to the already existing bill or
no? This is the bill, HR 5314.
Yeah. Well, you know what's really interesting with this running, the EU is doing some legislation right now on shell corporations and the Pandora Papers and what they're about to shut down. So what I'm finding very interesting is that a couple of things, and the enforcement of certain laws, and I think they have to do it. It's long overdue. But what you should be able to see at this moment is it looks like some people are like closing up their hatches and time to get things, but they're going to have to tear apart a lot of their own corruption going forward. You can have a shell corporation. The Pandora Papers even revealed something far more menacing what was going on with it. Some people legitimately had their money there, and it was, not everybody who was exposed was a criminal, but there were people who it is suspect.
Well, for example, they have this thing that's called Preventing Abuses of Presidential Power, Title I, Abuse of the Pardon Power Prevention. And it basically just says that in the event that the president grants an individual a pardon for a covered offense, not later than 30 days after the date of such a pardon, the Attorney General shall submit to the chairman and ranking minority members of the appropriate congressional committees. Right. That basically means he needs to alert the Gang of Eight.
Right.
Okay. But this is like, they're not going to take away the power of the pardon because that wouldn't pass Supreme Court.
All I know is we all have to do our part to vote in the next round so that we level out. We just demolish for a fact the Republican Party. We have to do everything we can. I mean, all of you guys who are like down, you got to really work. We got to work our booties.
You got to show up anyway.
This time, for real, because it can't be by slim margins either. This has to be by hook or crook. You're done. You got to get on the phones. You've got to give, I don't care if it's $1 a day or $1. Every little bit is going to help because this is no joke.
Because it could be back to the days when I'm going,
this. Hey, Missy Sue, can I come into your store? It's getting really fucking bad. This is where they want to see people. And we're so close. We're so close where we have the power to really flip them on their ear.
It's really bad that if the House has to pass a bill to restate what is in a whole bunch of other bills, right?
It's nonsense.
Just for emphasis, basically that says that we're in a zone. We're going in a direction where things that we expect should be, and things that we believe are law, things that are written in law, are no longer going to be. People are just going to be like, screw the law.
It's kind of like telling somebody
Screw the Constitution.
where we made we like you are at an office and the dress code is X, Y, and Z, and you just assume, you know, people come sit on your chairs. You have to literally write in, please wear shoes every day. Please wear underwear. Please. I mean, that's how messed up it is, where just civil decorum.
We
decency,
can't even get people to wear masks. Okay.
Right.
We're supposed to expect people to do these things.
I mean, just the norms of just normal decorum as just to get through the day have all been torn asunder. And they literally, like Aisha said, have had to write it down. Don't eat your boogers in the Senate. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, God.
Let's move on. We are going to round it out in the next few moments, but we hadn't done this for a while. But Aisha said we need to do it for at least one individual today.
Marco Rubio.
This episode's cockroach. Senator Marco Rubio blasts irrational hysteria.
Exactly what he wrote, because I had something to say about it.
Irrational hysteria over Omicron coronavirus variant. Sorry.
What he said was, what was this? Oh, yeah. Here's what he said. He said, record numbers testing positive for a sore throat isn't a crisis, and people in the hospital for car accidents testing positive isn't a surge. The real crisis is the irrational hysteria, which has people with no symptoms waiting for hours for a test or missing work for 10 days, says the man who was first in line when they were given vaccines to members of Congress before they gave them to regular people.
To get it, I recall he climbed over old ladies to get his shot. Yes.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. None of the things he said were true. There is no surge in sore throats. Okay. There is no surge in automobile accidents of people testing positive for COVID. What is true is that people are standing in lines and missing work for 10 days because they will not wear a fucking mask, because they have to be around like every single member of their family in crowds, unmasked, breathing aerosol on everybody and having it breathed on them, and not get a vaccine, not protect themselves or other people, and then want to be the first in line when it comes to treatment. They're taking all the ventilators. That's who's mostly on the ventilators. Are these people who he's telling it's irrational hysteria. Okay? It's not irrational. When you politicized it, you created the irrational hysteria. Treating a medical issue like a medical issue, it is what it is. It's like if we were to say, it's like, put it this way, if we were to say that on top of Omicron, there was a chickenpox virus going around in the United States, right? And that it didn't matter if you already had the chickenpox, you could still get it. People would be getting a vaccine like crazy, because those of us who've had chickenpox, we remember what that was. Okay. And it's considered a childhood malady. You wouldn't want your kids.
The only reason they would get a vaccine is if the next illness deformed your face or your genitals
or your wallet.
There was something, that would be the only reason everybody in America would run in agreement, because it would attack all the things that are so prevalent here, which is greed, vanity, and the obsession.
But chickenpox can't do that. Remember, all those all over your face.
I mean, like disfigure. Yeah. Like, you ain't got no money to go get plastic surgery, disfigurement. But we're at a really funny time. Marco Rubio is just an idiot, and I don't even know why we waste our breath giving him. I hurt for so many people standing in these lines. We have a lot of cruel people in these positions of power, They're cruel. They're like barbarically cruel. I mean, I read about a guy today who he was immunocompromised. He had a transplant and he had all the vaccines and everything, and he died. The doctor worked on him for 30 minutes last night in the hospital to try to revive him. And he had an organ. He was an organ transplant recipient. And so when you see things like that, but like I said, ever since Sandy Hook went down in America, it said everything I needed to know about the people who live in this country.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. When it happened, and
when people didn't do anything and went on as business as usual, it says everything about.
We should have had a federal gun law that night. They should have been in
there should have been people
the
in the streets voting. And nobody should have gone to work and everybody should just went, wait a minute, hang on, put the brakes on. But babies. The country doesn't have that in them. They're busy, obsessed with anybody telling them what to do, and they deserve everything they get. All the charlatans that come along and mislead them down a road, I don't even feel sorry anymore.
The only place that took a pause then was the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, I know Connecticut tried, but I've got to say
that was the only thing. And then here's what happened is that one of the manufacturers, when they did pass the laws to stave off some of this, the manufacturers went and left. And guess where they went? To Lindsey Graham's backyard.
Right. I just like I said, a lot of cruel and barbaric people are here. And it's really the bottom of the barrel. So
and Nikki Haley was the one to tell them, oh, come here then. Okay.
I don't know.
Well, as we round out last conversation, a review.
Oh no, we can
one more.
No, I don't want to talk about that other man. That's okay. But a review of 2021.
Here's some passing thoughts about the year we just left. Any thoughts?
Gosh. I will never have to do that year again. Just 2020. We thought 2021 was going to be worse. I mean, it was going to be better, and it was just as badly behaved as 2020. We had the same bad actors in 2021. So for 2022, I am hoping that this year is the year that we get answers. This year is the year that people start throwing us some bones. And we know we'll get some because it is an election year here. But I want names, dates, locations, position.
I mean, in Watergate, you're right, took 3 years to get to where the level it did. It did take a while. I don't think it's going to be much better. I think it's going to be an emotional year.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to really buckle down, because I think now rich people and corporations have figured out that they can get the slogs and the serfs to get out there and work a little bit. There are no protections for people who are getting sick. There's no incentives and money coming into them. There are people who are still unwell and will have long-term effects. I just see the rich and corporations shoring up a way for themselves to profit and make more money. And at the same time, I don't think America will ever be where it needs to be until we get rid of the lobbyists and the super PACs. They need to go. And it really needs to start back at basics. If we're stripping everything down, then, strip it all down, tear the whole damn thing down. But I just see how people normally get survival skills and figure out how to go on. But I do not see it being a miraculous year. I think it could be. It's going to have exciting, but this could be a very huge tipping point year, just civilly, because that voting, that election, I think is going to be emotional, because I think Republicans are going to lose. And then and let's say they don't lose, I still think it's just going to be hell on earth. Because I don't think either side is going to accept the outcome.
Well, I had brought up that Connecticut has a lot of new laws taking effect
We do too.
Today.
Some great
and
ones.
that's the
Yeah.
exciting part. We have
Yes.
a family paid leave act that was passed last year.
Mhm.
So it grants up to 12 weeks of income replacement. And one of the things it covers is domestic violence or
Mhm.
family violence, to address issues if you have to take a leave, you know,
That's good.
in
That's
that
very
case.
thoughtful.
And we also have religious exemptions from vaccinations. Parents can no longer claim religious exemption for childhood vaccinations.
That'll go to the Supreme Court.
Like they used to. Well, no, it's already
Oh.
It'll
Yeah,
go. It'll go. But right now, it's law as of today.
Okay.
So
Well,
it'll go. And we also have when marijuana is legal. And that we issued a deadly force. We have a deadly force for policemen, the use of it. We have that law that will under which it lays out what is considered deadly force for police officers.
Let's just see if any of these laws get enforced, because clearly from our last conversation, we have a big problem with laws being enforced, you know?
Not in our state, though. Our state has been very good at on enforcement. I have to say that. They've been very good on enforcement of the laws, the new laws. Like, you know, they've been gearing up for this marijuana law for a while because they already allowed shops to sell the
I don't understand how states can have legalized marijuana and at the same time still have people who are in jail for marijuana crimes.
That's a good question.
I think that's just ridiculously hypocritical and stupid. I think that they first should have been, they need to get those people out. I'm talking about minor offenders that actually got screwed, like here in California.
Well, and the majority of those people are of what background?
They're black.
This law the law provides for automatic erasure of convictions within a certain period for possessing less than 4 ounces.
Well, enforcement.
There's always a caveat, isn't there? My whole point is they need to straighten that up. Karmically, it's just wrong. When your stuff is messed up, it's like having a backed up toilet. Fix it. Or get a new one.
Yeah.
You know, you can't keep like putting band-aids and tape and everything. That stuff blows. She gonna blow.
Well,
anyway,
people get to petition the erasure of the records, and it goes back pretty far.
So Black Beauty saying, well, this bill passed by Congress 9/2021 is stuck in the Senate. I think going back to the HR bill you were talking about, but if it were to be signed by the DOJ, it would be law.
It can't be signed by the DOJ.
They can't be signed by the DOJ.
It has to be signed by the president.
No.
Laws can't work that way.
No.
It has to go through the Senate, and the Senate is not going to do anything on it because they don't have the votes. They have to kill the filibuster in order to do that.
Right.
And Jen Myers was commenting a little while back on some of the comments that Aisha was making right on. Black Beauty saying, I just pray that 2022 is going to be better as well. Amen. Also, we have Wig Maniac has got to work on midterms. Help get out the vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really true.
And what's so sad is that it's right now is even too late. They needed to start working on this.
It's not too late. It's not too late. At the very end, I was out there during COVID before I knew what COVID was, and I was knocking on doors. So it's and doing phone calls and doing Zooms, and they really some of these young kids that have put together some of these grassroots ways, they can do it. And if you're a special type of person who knows how to have a conversation with people on a phone and you're good, you would be surprised what you can accomplish, because a lot of people are looking for a friend. They're looking for somebody who wants to just hear them.
Yep, that's all it takes.
And that's what it is. And yet it really is. There's something about those one-to-ones on those calls. Even I've had them, and sometimes you just click with people.
It's back to basics.
Absolutely,
just giving some people some attention.
Yeah, I was speaking to changing laws, making sure the laws, because the last election was November.
But we can't do anything when we have a dead Senate. I mean, we're told it's a lame duck Senate. It's like,
no, but remember, elections are not federally run; they're state run.
Right.
And so all these states had all these laws that were going through before the November elections. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the problems. That's one of the challenges that Democrats have, is that they did not really push these state elections the way they could.
You know what? I'm never really affected if somebody is telling me that there's a new election. I used to be where I didn't pay attention because I was like, Democrats are going to get it.
Right.
But let me tell you something, after what I've witnessed in the last year, I don't think Democrats should ever take it so, just a luxury that, now things are going to run so well. It's not. This is a fight every damn day. And if you want to keep your life with some remainder of any kind of civility or sense of anything, you are going to have to get involved.
Yeah, you got to fight
and
every
not
day.
Be a burden. Yeah, you can't be a burden to me and I'm trying to get out there and fight for you too. People can't sit there and go, we screwed up in this last race. I'm telling you, because everybody got cocksure. Oh, they're going to win. They're going to win. No, you got to
actually be there to help the win.
We do.
Our state is we have a super majority of Dems in both the state house and Senate, but we have a Republican Party that kicks up a lot of dust.
Yeah, you can't fall asleep at the wheel
when it comes time to those laws. And so, I make sure I go for every election.
True, me too. That car does not run on automatic cruise drive anymore, cruise control.
Every November, every year, I'm voting for something.
Absolutely.
Right. So let's just close it out here. Black Beauty says, plus a lot of American prisons are privatized on the stock market in regards to that.
Which is crazy.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm loving all the passion we're bringing tonight. We all really want solutions, Black Beauty is saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I really, really, really hope, if you are truly tired of how long the pandemic is going, get out and vote for Democrats.
Right.
If you are truly tired of, the cost of gas and all this stuff, inflation, all of that, get out and vote for Democrats. Yeah. If you are concerned about how high childcare and after school care is for your kids, get out and vote for Democrats.
Well, George Carlin said the left were the people he made it and I see all these people playing George Carlin's videos in support of the alt-right. No, he actually said, if you want somebody who's going to do something for, sick people, old people, young people, blah, 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 it's a Democrat. If you want somebody who's going to take all your money and be greedy and promote this whole freedom and blah, 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 then that's who, and the most disgusting people on earth, those are basically the Republicans.
And
because they've always been the greedy ones. And we know that. Always.
We're very quick to say this, but we don't do it. Freedom is not free. So in order, pay for your freedom with your vote. Vote for people who are going to do something. And here's the other part of it. The people who vote for the things like, rights and freedoms and, I want to own my gun and be able to, just have it. Those people have no money. They are just in the same state of living that you are. The only difference between you and them is that they will show up to the polls to vote on that one thing, and it is either their guns or they happen to like the person and want to have a beer with them. That's something we also need to get out of in our politics too. Not, can you get along with this person, or does this person look like they'd be good to pal around with? I don't want to pal around with my senators. I don't want to pal around with Blumenthal and Murphy, and I don't want to pal around with Rosa DeLauro. I want them in Washington, D.C. doing their job.
All right, good ending. Last comment here. Black Beauty says, Sister Aisha, I will continue to vote. I am Democrat. I just pray my vote counts. I'm in a Republican state.
Good luck. And God bless. And God bless. And hopefully the actual people who, the people who refuse to wear their masks. Well, and this, I hope the Republicans have realized that, you're taking out your You're taking out your base by politicizing COVID.
Okay. Weak Maniac says, have to get young people to the polls.
Yeah.
And Jen says, great conversation, everyone. That's a wrap. Another epic conversation called State of Things.
We really should have voting online on our phones, because you want to get young people to vote, you have to reach them where they are.
You know, the Republicans would never allow that.
Of
So,
course. Because the people that vote for them are generally old. Especially the reliable base is old.
Yeah.
They don't know how to quite use the cellular phone. So,
Jill, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think the hacking potential for that is kind of a disaster. It's pretty bad until they come up with other measures. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, nice conversation, guys.
It really does.
And I'm going to, as usual, want to thank everyone who showed up live on the replay. Jill, how can people get a hold of you?
Right there at Jill D. Jones, Twitter.
Right there. I love the way you said that.
That's
amazing. I love it. And Aisha?
At Aisha K. Oh, Aisha Staggers on Twitter.
Yes, Aisha Staggers.
Yeah, and AK Staggers on Instagram.
All right, fantastic. And if you want to get in touch with this guy here, website, thedrvibeshow.com, Twitter at drvibeshow, Instagram at thedrvibeshow, and email dr.vibe at thedrvibeshow.com. Like to thank everybody for an epic conversation. First one of the new year, and we're just going to get better. We are talking offline about ways of getting more engagement, but certainly contact me if you have any show ideas. And again, we have it out there. Please, we'd love someone to come on from our audience. Once in a while we have that. We'd like to have it more often. So if you'd like to come on as a guest on the Dr. Vibe, well, not Dr. Vibe show, sure, but more importantly, Staggers State of, no, not even that. It's State of Things with Aisha and Jill. Contact me, and we'd love to have you on. Want to say thanks to everyone who made it great live tonight. Jen, Wigmaniac, Black Beauty, Christopher, and others, Green-Eyed Little Baby. If I didn't say your name, it's my head, not my heart. As always, I like to end off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and we love you lots of. And remember, new year, but you know what? Still, remember to give yourselves grace. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good.